Good evening. I will call to order the Tuesday, August 13th, Timnath regular Town Council meeting. Peters Garcia, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Mayor Robert Oxmacher.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner.
Here.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt.
Here.
Councilmember Bill Jenkins.
Here.
Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Here.
Very good. Welcome, everyone. Is there any requests to amend the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to public comment. This is an opportunity for individuals to comment on matters affecting the town. Each speaker may have up to 3 minutes, and this is intended for items that do not otherwise have an opportunity to speak on the agenda. It appears that we have one person that signed up, so I'll welcome Mr. John Garvey. And sir, if you'd just go ahead and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Thanks for being here.
John Garvey, 5034 Leopold Lane.
Welcome.
Since I'm the only speaker, is it possible to get like 30 seconds of wiggle room if I need it? On the 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, we're taking up time now, but 3 minutes is our standard, but it'll flex.
Yeah, I understand. I've been at the busy meetings where it's really important, so. This time of year, the Milky Way is almost directly overhead. I saw it from Rocky Mountain National Park a few weeks ago with my girlfriend and 4 of our kids aged 8 to 12. It's difficult to describe their reaction, but it was beautiful. They were just enthralled. And it is really a special experience to be with the kid when she's looking at the Milky Way for the first time, as was the case with 2 of them. But something about the experience nagged at me too, because although I grew up in a town, in a city that was much larger even then than Fort Collins is today, the Milky Way was easily visible from my backyard. We took that for granted growing up. On summer evenings, my brothers and I would sometimes camp out in the backyard. That was perfectly safe for children in middle-class neighborhoods, back when it was considered bad manners to install floodlights all around your property. I don't think most Americans below the age of 15 today have even seen a shooting star. Which version of childhood sounds more appealing to you? We all need to feel wonder, a perspective that diminishes the weight of political squabbles, unopened work emails, and social comparison. Stargazing fills that need nicely. Yet every year in the US, we look up and see 10% fewer stars because of light pollution. Light pollution has harmful effects on the environment and human health in a variety of ways, but to me the simple fact that kids can't see shooting stars anymore is the real wake-up call. If this bothers you, the good news that in a town this size, even one household can make a meaningful difference. But in a way, that's also the bad news. As a fast-growing town, we need to get ahead of this. Light pollution is technically easy to reverse, but it is much more easily dealt with before it becomes a problem through courteous individual choices, education, and thoughtful lighting ordinances. I'm thankful that the town staff is already updating these. Please take this to heart. It has a huge bearing on our quality of life and the character of Timnath. The most urgent and effective measures are also cost neutral. For instance, capping new exterior light fixtures at a color temperature of 2700 or 3000 Kelvin. I don't have time to address why this is so important, but there is no reason from the standpoint of public safety, cost, or aesthetics to have $5,000 light fixtures. Unless you're running Jurassic Park, maybe. We can reverse light pollution in Timnath without being heavy-handed. It's too late for my kids to learn about the Milky Way the way I did, gazing up at it from my backyard, but paradoxically, it is not too late for my grandkids. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks, sir. Appreciate your time. That's the only person I have signed up, but is there anyone else present that would like to address council this evening? All right, seeing none. We will move on to item number 4, the consent agenda, which consists of 2 items. First, approval of the July 2023 Town Council meeting minutes, and second, the July 26, 2024 check register. At this time, is there any request to pull an item from the consent agenda? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Consent agenda passes unanimously. We will move on to mayor and council reports. I know Councilmember Lake has an update.
Thank you, Mayor. Melissa, I did just email you a copy today. I did a council chat on Friday, August 2nd. I did let those people know it probably would not be in the packet for today, but if we could add that for next meeting, please. I am going to read it so that when it's in that packet, it will be exactly what it says here. Thank you to the Hidden Stem for allowing me to have my most recent council chat there on Friday, August 2nd. There were approximately 10 to 15 individuals present. Here is a recap of the topics that were brought to my attention, and I've added some asterisks for my response after the fact. Home inspections, there was concern that these are not being done correctly and or thoroughly, as people have found issues when moving in that they thought should have been discovered during the inspection. The tree list on the town website currently contains many non-native species. Maybe there's a way to list recommended native species, but then also list others that are allowed. Old Town area, lots of discussion around this topic, including interest in knowing what land or properties are available. Erie was listed as an example. They suggested that one council member be designated for Old Town, and recognition that there has been conflict and dissension. Water issues, again, lots of discussion on this topic, including concern about permits being issued without the correct pipes or infrastructure in place. My add-on to that is that all new developments are required to work with the water district before being able to build. They mentioned concerns about land use relative to density, concerns about the amount of open space requiring watering, and concerns about the augmentation pond at the lakes, which I'll add here that staff are aware of that problem and are working with the developer. And the last thing for that was suggestion to assign staff to this issue, including sewage. Metro districts, the question was, why are they allowed, as only the developers want them? And it was suggested that the town say no to these requests. Town management, seems like the agenda items come from staff, not the town manager. It was suggested that the manager give a manager report with 3 to 5 high-level points. My add-on to that was that the town manager oversees all departments within the town and works closely with the department heads. That it's my belief that his job should be to ensure that the work gets done and that the correct information be presented to council, not necessarily for him to be the person to present the information. Keep Main Street open, eliminate the real estate fee, be careful how questions are worded on surveys as not to be biased. A comment about a street light being out in Wildwing for a few months now. And with that, the light is owned by Excel, and that residents should be able to contact Excel to have them fixed. And then the last one was that the community room should be free for residents. And I know we just recently had this conversation as well. And then one thing that I didn't include in the write-up that I just want to mention is that there is a community forum being hosted by Together for Timnath related to the water supply, and there will be representatives from all 3 different districts that operate water within the town, and that is this Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the community room here at the town center. And I know it's posted on Facebook, and they are asking if you can RSVP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Holt, anything?
So I get the great pleasure of hosting the next council chats on the 28th of this month. It's at 2 p.m. at the CFA feeding green. So I look forward to seeing you guys there on the 28th.
All right, Councilmember Jenkins.
Right. So last week I knew for me, this is part of the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning District. I attended the I-25 Coalition meeting, which is related to the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And what I learned there is the section currently under construction between Berthoud and Meade. They're doing the center divide work first. Once they complete that, that'll get paved, and then they'll close, I believe it's the eastern portion of I-25 and move the traffic over to the center. Then they'll complete the eastern portion. Then and at that point, they will move people off the western section. I believe that's correct, and into the center. So it's going to be a multi-year process. And what they have found, which I find very interesting, is that with the addition of the third lane, that traffic accidents have gone down considerably. Big percentage points. There's still more data. They're obviously early on, but it looks like a big decrease. However, accidents in the construction zone have gone up largely due to excessive speed and following too close, tailgating. So just a recommendation, follow the speed limit when you go through the construction zone and don't tailgate. I've had the occasion to go through that area several times in the last month, and I've seen an accident almost every time. So drive safely. That's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody that starts school this week in our town to have a great school week. Good luck, a great year. To our drivers in this town, to kind of Bill's point, I want to encourage everyone to slow down, pay attention. We're gonna have bus stops now. We're gonna have our bikes out there. The kids riding our bikes. So I really hope everybody just takes an extra moment, gives themselves time to get there in the morning, so our kids can get to school safe.
Great. Thank you. That's an excellent reminder. I just have a couple of items. Looks like we're hosting Bubble Science on Friday the 16th. So this Friday here at Town Center. That's a partnership with the library. I think the target there is kids age 5 to 13. So that's free, and that's here at Town Center. So encourage folks to check that out. And then last Friday was supposed to be movie night, but unfortunately the weather did not cooperate with us, which I know is a disappointment. But I did want to give kudos to the town staff on the communication on that. A decision was made about 7 p.m. We had to waive that out, and I appreciated the messaging that went out both through the alert system and then also posted automatically to our Facebook page and Twitter. So if folks are not signed up for those events alerts, it's real easy to do. You just have to send a text message to 888-777, 888-777 with Timnath event, one word in there, and that'll get you added to the list. So just found that to be really helpful. Anything else? And we don't have it on the agenda. Town Manager Adams, anything urgent to share?
Not at this time.
All right. Very good. Well, then we will now move on to our regular business items. We have two today, beginning with item 6A, which is a proclamation related to Women's Equality Day. And I'd like to invite the League of Women's Voters to join us here today. I believe we have the president of the League of Women Voters of Larimer County, Ms. Berger, here to share some wisdom with us.
Yes, you want me to go first?
Please.
Is this on? Can't tell. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Pat Berger. I am the president of the League of Women Voters. I don't live here in Timnath. I live next door in Windsor. And I have with me Julie Hellman, who is a Timnath resident. And we thank you so much for sponsoring a proclamation for Women's Equality Day. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. We at the Larimer League of Women Voters, not for women only, join many other organizations to honor Women's Equality Day. As the proclamation will make clear that 51 years ago, in 1973, the U.S. Congress designated August 26th as Women's Equality Day, thanks to Representative Bella Abzug from New York. The date was selected to commemorate the 1920 certification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution granting women the right to vote. I don't know about you guys, but it kind of surprises me that women didn't get the right to vote, at least nationally, until 1920. That wasn't all that long ago. Oh, I'm almost that old. This was a accumulation of the massive civil rights movement by women that had its formal beginnings in 1848. So it took a really long time to get this thing passed. That happened at the world's first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls, New York. It's not until the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that women of color gained the full right to vote, 1965. The observance of Women's Equality Day not only commemorates the passage of the 19th Amendment, but also calls attention to women's continuing efforts towards full equality. The League of Women Voters of Larimer County wants to thank you for this declaration in support of Women's Equity Day. On August 22nd, the League will be gathering to honor 3 Larimer County women who exemplify women's leadership in our local communities. Joy Sullivan is the CEO of the United Way of Larimer County. Gretchen Haley is the minister at the Foothills Unitarian Church in Fort Collins. And Beth DeHaven is one of our loyal members of the League of Women Voters and active in gun safety organizations. These women continue to inspire us to take action still needed to make equality for women a reality. We invite you to join us in this celebration on August 22nd with tickets available on the League's website, www.lwv, for League of Women Voters, Larimer County, or just Google Larimer County League. You'll get it. We do have some cards to distribute for more information on that if you would like to come see us. There's a silent auction also that you can enjoy that is online, so you don't even have to be at the event to get a chance to chat with the Larimer County Commissioner, for instance. You can bid on a time to sit down with him and have a cup of coffee and tell him what you think. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Berger. Thank you, Ms. Hellman, for joining us. I would now like to ask Councilmember Lake to officially introduce the proclamation.
All right, thank you. Whereas equality under the law is a fundamental value of Americans, and whereas women of the United States have worked to gain full rights and privileges, public and private, legal or institutional, as citizens of the United States, and whereas the fight for women's right to vote began as early as the 1840s, involved a long struggle that spanned generations of suffragists, and the amendment, first proposed and rejected in 1878, was reintroduced every year for the next 41 years. And whereas women in every state and every cultural and religious group worked to secure women's right to vote through the 19th Amendment of the Constitution, which stated that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. And whereas Congress designated August 26th, the date the 19th Amendment was certified, as Women's Equality Day. And whereas this year's theme for Women's Equality Day is Inspire Inclusion and prioritizes equality, access, and opportunity of women's work for democracy. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Timnath, Colorado, encourages the residents to commemorate Women's Equality Day on August 26th as a national day celebrating the importance of the women's suffrage movement and work to secure and expand equal rights today, dated this 13th day of August, 2024.
Thank you, Council Member, and I have signed this proclamation on behalf of the council and the town, so thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Would you
We
join
would
us
love
for a
to get a
photograph?
picture.
Could we do that? Yeah, that'd be
If
wonderful.
that would be okay. I also want to add, we have a couple events coming up after this. On September 9th, we have a speaker. It's available to anybody, open to the public, at the Fort Collins Senior Center, and the speech is on election security. I also want to let you know that September 17th is National Voter Registration Day, and we'll be all over the place at the libraries and everywhere. We register everybody. We're a nonpartisan political organization, so please find, if you know somebody that's not registered, send them our way. All right. Resuming our journey, we will now move on to our last agenda item, Resolution Number 58, Series 2024, a resolution approving the construction of the 2024 Timnath Reservoir Trail improvements. Mr. Williamson.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I have a presentation. It's going to work this time. So we're here today to talk about the Timnath Reservoir Trail. As you guys know, the Timnath Reservoir is a park that we've been slowly developing over time. I've got a little bit of background and a quick presentation to talk about it. There's a lot of information in the packet. I was just going to breeze kind of through some of the highlights, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. A little bit of background. So the town has a long-term lease for the surface rights for recreation on the reservoir. That's with the Cashley Reservoir Company. That lease was started on December 7th of 2016, and it was a 15-year term. In 2020, we amended that lease to include 2 5-year extensions at the town's sole discretion. So with those 2 extensions, we have control of the reservoir until 2041, December of 2041. After that time, the town has the first right of refusal on any other leases that would be entertained. I think staff's intent would be that we would renew that lease prior to getting to 2041, but we still have about 17 years there, so it's probably something we can go, back burner on for a little while. And then the reservoir is located in Larimer County, so it's not annexed to the town. However, in February of last year, the town of Larimer County completed a location and extent agreement, which allows the town's jurisdiction for development, building permits, allowed uses, all to happen there. So it really takes the reservoir and puts it under the town's jurisdiction for certain aspects. It's still not taxed by the town. They're exempt anyway, but it doesn't, the police powers are kind of the one exception, right? So it still would be the domain of LCSO, but we have the cooperative agreement there. So I know that our officers do help them out by responding to any issues with the reservoir. Here's the master plan that was adopted in 2017, Resolution 17 of February 28th. This is the overview, and then the master plan does also contain a kind of a detail of the shoreline. As you can tell, this master plan is very large and bubbly and vague. There's not a lot of details in there. In the overall master plan, it talks a little bit about what we might see in some of the active recreation areas and passive recreation areas. And really, the intent with this master plan was to keep the reservoir as naturalized as possible for the majority of the perimeter, and then have one kind of center of intensity. The project description for the project in front of you tonight, we're going to further the master plan by building a 10-foot concrete trail with a companion soft trail wherever possible around the north and west sides of the reservoir. That's going to link the Wild Wing subdivision all the way around to our improvements at the shoreline. So we get basically a big C with this improvements. We're also going to add a new area for a staff attendant pre-manufactured building. That'll happen just at the upper edge of the event space. There's some operational things that's going to enhance. And then we're going to repair the caps along the beach area. That work actually was a small bit, and that has already started working on there because they're really trying to get that. Those caps were starting to wobble a little bit, so we wanted to get, that was a safety hazard, so we wanted to get those kind of moving as soon as possible. This is the project map, so you can see in the large yellow box at the north is the trail improvements, and then these two small boxes are the caps, and then that little attendant area. The trail map is shown here, so the reservoir property is shown in green. The pink piece is going to be phase 1. They're going to get working on that immediately. There's already a bench there that the reservoir company built, I think, at the end of 22, and then did some more work on in 23. So they can go ahead, that area is available right now. Then the yellow piece, which is the phase 2, will happen in the late fall. We need to construct the bench for that area. So the reservoir company's main concern is the volume of the reservoir, so we're not going to import, we're going to import a little bit of material, but not much. What we're going to do is wait for the water to go down, and then we're going to borrow area from under the reservoir surface and use that the same way they built their bench. So we're not importing dirt there. We're just we have to wait for the water to go down and that shoreline to dry out a little bit before we can do that work. These are some excerpts from the project plans. So what we've got is a plan view here, and then a section, a profile actually, and then I've got a detail of that. This is phase 1, so and the bottom diagram where I've crudely drawn some red lines where the existing grade is, you can see the existing grade and the proposed grade are all very close to each other. And then this 64 plus a 00 is a cross section right at kind of this center line here. So you can see that again, the dashed is the existing grade, the solid is the proposed grade. So we're really just making minor tweaks to this to get the trail in there. Phase 2 is where we're building the bench, and you can see that the plan view and profile again, and I've got a detail here, but you can see that the long straight line is the elevation of the trail. We set the elevation of the trail above, about 6 inches above the high water mark of the reservoir. Not their normal fill amount, but where it's going to overtop if there was a problem. So that trail is going to kind of ring the reservoir. It's going to create a nice edge for all of that, all of those unimproved areas as well. You can see here in my crude drawing of red that we are varying, up to 1.5 feet, 2 feet in some places, and that's where we're building that bench to get that trail up and dry out of the reservoir. And in the cross section, you can see that there's this gentle slope, and we're going to put a berm up there and put that the trail on it. You also see that there are a couple of these 8-inch storm lines. Those are just small storm lines that you can see that there's a space behind the trail where water could get impounded. So we've got swales there that take it under the trail so that we don't impound water behind the trail. We're also adding an access ramp. That'll be part of phase 2 because we need to wait for the water to go down. So this will happen at the beach area in Wild Wing. We see a lot of people using that for the non-motorized watercraft launch. We have stairs at 3 locations. This will replace one of the sets of stairs. It's possible that we'll keep the stairs there and have the stairs and the ramp, but much easier to launch your kayaks and your paddle boards from the ramp rather than coming down the stairs. You still will be required to register those non-motorized vehicles with the town. So you're still entering the reservoir similar to as you would at the shoreline. No changes there, but just a little bit easier access for those Wild Wing residents. This is the area for the attendant building. So we're going to do a 14 by 20 concrete pad. There'll be a building very similar to the one that's down at the shoreline now, which is I think it's from Lowe's, that we'll purchase separately and have installed there. And then there's a little parking area there, so if somebody is having an issue, they can pull off and discuss it with the attendants without blocking it. One of the operational issues that we're seeing is that when they're stationed at the building by the boat ramp, people will come, park, be partially unloaded before the attendants can come over and talk to them. Right, we want to have the attendants checking in. We've got a permit system. Everybody's got to have a permit to go in there, free for the residents. A couple other ways you can get permits we talked about ad nauseum, I think, in the reservoir policies. But this will give everybody a chance to kind of check in before they get down into the parking lot area. We did do an invitation for bid. These are the results. They're shown in your packet. GLH was the low bidder, and that's who we're recommending award to. Their bid at $1.4 million was substantially lower than Duran, and then the upper end of that was about $1 million more than that. So that did raise some flags for staff. So we met with them a couple of weeks ago to go through the project and make sure where we saw discrepancies in the bid tabs, where they had low numbers, that they were comfortable with those numbers. They thought they were gonna work. They have the unique ability that they're going to perform most of that work in-house, and then concrete, which is the other portion that they're subbing out, is a sister company to them. So they really have almost all of the work happening kind of under their umbrella, where they don't have a lot of subs. That gave them the ability to kind of really place this project in their schedule and really come in very competitively. This is the overall project budget. So you can see the 1.42 for the GLH construction. We will have materials testing. That will be concrete testing and compaction testing, making sure that when they build the bench is solid, and then when they pour the concrete meets spec. They will have construction admin and observation. And then we have a 10% contingency. I've talked a little bit about the contingency with some of the members of the council. 10% is a little more than we usually ask for. If you look at the Wild Wing Park, we ask for 5% there. Because we're pulling that material out of the reservoir, there's a little bit of more unknown happening with the quality of that material. So there might be some additional work that's going to take to condition that material, or we might have to do a little bit more work in the reservoir to kind of make sure that material is suitable for the trail bench. So that's why we're asking for a little bit more contingency. With that, I'll open it up to any questions that anybody has.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think you had some questions, right?
Thanks, Brian. I know you addressed some of my questions. So if I understand correctly, when in our packet, there's not going to be new event space. We're just talking about upgrades to the current event space that's kind of on that south edge of the reservoir. Is that correct?
Yeah, the only change is kind of adding that new attendance shed at the north end of the event space.
Okay. And as a resident, is there a place where they can go and see this master plan and see what the work's being done on the websites? Is there somewhere where they can go and check out the plan?
Yeah, so the master plan is on the website. I can get a link. I think I said I was going to send you a link, but I did not. It is on the website under the Parks Planning page, but it is a very general master plan. As we go in, these improvements are really mainly trail construction, which is kind of just a yellow dashed line along the perimeter of the reservoir. I think when we do more developed parks like Wild Wing and the community park, those master plans look a little bit different. They've got more detail in them because there's more improvements that are planned in those. I think that we will probably get a project website set up for this project. so that we can put the plans up there, this presentation can go up there, and then we can post some updates as far as drone videos and things like that as we get under construction.
Okay, and one more question, thank you. And just for my knowledge, can you refresh my memory, like what's an invitation for bid versus, say, an RFP?
Sure, yeah, the invitation for bid is what we use when we have plans that we consider to be 100%. So there's not a lot of negotiation. They fill out a bid tab. The bid tab for GLH is included in the packet, but they're basically saying, you know, we're giving them the plans and we're giving them the number of units. They're saying, here's the cost for the unit. In their unit cost, they have to include all of their overhead, profit, any kind of warranty, all those things get rolled into each unit cost. So as we build 100 feet of trail, we pay for 100 feet of trail. And in that unit goes. If there's a change in the plans and the plans say 100 feet, they build 112 feet, we pay them for 112 feet. So it's a unit price contract, but everything is fixed kind of at the beginning. An RFP process we use when we're looking for more of a partner in that project. So we'll have designs that are 50 to 70% sometimes. That way we can get an order of magnitude on cost for those projects, but we're also looking for someone to come in and evaluate, hey, if you do these things differently, here's some cost savings. We might want to evaluate the use of these specific items because they're more expensive. We can substitute them for something that was more reasonable.
And so an invitation bid is price just that's all we're looking at, right? I know you said you went and met with them because you were concerned about the price, but is that generally the number one qualifier?
I would say it's 80% price. Okay. I mean, we are looking at their qualifications, making sure that they've done other projects of this type. This is not their first rodeo, that they have the equipment, they're self-performing the work, that their list of subs are known quantities. You know, we're kind of doing a check on those other things, but mainly it's price, assuming that all those other boxes get checked.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilmember Holt?
Yep. So I partly love the idea and partly am scared of waiting for the water to go down and using that. Maybe educate me on why that's the best route versus fill dirt. Obviously cost, I'm assuming, but knowing there's potential that it won't work, so we're ultimately setting costs aside. So maybe walk me through why we chose that route versus just bringing in fill dirt and not worrying about the water level.
Sure. So two things, right? The reservoir's main concern about us doing this work is keeping their volume. So if we were to import structural fill, they would want us to remove that same volume out of the reservoir.
Okay.
Right. So we're trying to make them whole as far as their storage capabilities there. We also had very strong concerns. They use that same material to build the bench that's existing at Wild Ring right now. So we have some track record on that. We have done a little bit of geotech testing on that to make sure that it's going to get to the compaction that we need. It is going to be durable enough to hold the trail. So while it is, all things being equal, it would be safer to bring in new dirt, clean dirt, structural fill where we need it, and make that all work. But the uniqueness of this property and the adjacency to the reservoir, I think, kind of makes us need to use that material.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Does the GLH proposed contract include the prefab building and electrical work or utility work for that building, or is that going to be separate?
It does not. That would be separate.
Okay. Do we know how much that's going to be?
Tom has priced the building, and I think it's like they're still kind of determining some of the specs, but I think I'm going to say it's the order of magnitude of like $11,000 to $12,000.
Oh, not so much.
Something
And then
about that.
There'll be some utility work to connect it, get power.
Exactly. And they're, let me go back to that. Our power line that runs to that original attendance shed runs right through here.
Yeah,
so
it'll be easy.
Yes, we'll be able to intercept it.
Yeah.
We'll need a step-down transformer because the voltage is pretty high on that line because of the distance.
Yeah.
But it's the same equipment that we put into that other building.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Unrelated, do we have an update on the blue-green algae out there and how that's looking?
I do not have an update on the blue-green algae.
I know that's not necessarily your bailiwick. I'm always amazed at the cost. Why are sidewalks so darn expensive?
Because concrete is expensive. It's a wide sidewalk. It's 10 feet, and we're building a bench in some places. The actual unit price for the concrete that GLH is providing is actually quite reasonable compared to other projects that we've done recently. So I think they're leveraging that relationship with Kaufman and Lobb, who is their kind of sister company.
Council, other questions? All right, staff, anything we've missed?
I don't think so. The one thing I would add is that there are 2 areas where the trail will be on Metro District property, so we'll have to get temporary construction easements from the Metro District to build the trail in those areas.
Yeah, Councilman Holt.
Can you go back to the budget page, the numbers? Okay, so this was already earmarked, budgeted for, and it looks like we're coming in over 200,000 below budget in the grand scheme of things?
That's correct. Some of that will be used for the electrical and the
Sure.
building, but
Still safe to say 175 or so, roughly? Okay, good, thanks.
Well, maybe even more than that if they don't have to dip too far into the contingency.
At this time, is there a motion to approve the resolution approving construction of the 2024 Timnath Reservoir Trail improvements?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, moved and seconded. Council, any discussion?
Go ahead, Lisa.
I just want to say that I'm really excited that we're doing some more work at the reservoir. I know that's an area that has come up many times from community members, and so anything that we can do to continue that sidewalk and accessibility around the reservoir is really exciting. So thank you for continuing to put that at the top.
Councilmember Jenkins.
I don't have anything, sorry.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Wagner.
Yeah, I'm definitely in support of this resolution, and I think using our tax dollars to help our residents have a balance in their life and enjoy the outdoors. This to me is a great project, and I really am honored to put it towards this reservoir because I know a lot of people talk about it, and so I'm absolutely in support of it.
I also support the resolution. I thank staff for their work on this. I'm glad to see that the price came in favorable to us. I note that it's under what we had budgeted for this. This was a planned addition, so thank you for that. Anything else before we vote? All right. So we're going to spend $1.5 million, presumably. I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Yes.
Councilmember Bill Jenkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner.
Yes.
Mayor Robert Oxmacher.
Yes. All right. The resolution carries unanimously. Council, anything else before we adjourn? Very well. We stand adjourned.